Oh, so this has the potential of screen. Oh, okay. Now. This yours so advanced. I can even share my screen from here.
Yeah, you can. You
uh,
can. It's pretty good. Anyway, I think we're going to start. And happy Sunday, everybody. My name is Ebrima Sonko, and I am the host of the Dialectic Space podcast that comes your way every Saturday and sometimes on Sundays. And Sundays generally, I love to host Bantaba with individuals to basically talk about current issues in the Gambia, or as they like to say, burning issues. But today, my guest with me is Mr. Ebrima Dampha. Um, Ibrahim and I have known each other for over 5 years. We've been colleagues at the University of the Gambia as well, and I've really followed his life and journey for as long as I've known him. And so today, we're going to talk about generally about Ibrahim's life and journey, both personally and professionally, but we'll also delve into the recent survey by Gambia Participate that came out a few days ago. Of course, it's no secret that Ibrahima is also a member of the United Democratic Party, which is the biggest opposition party in the Gambia by electoral record. So this is not just me stating it. I think they've so far been a dominant political player in the Gambian political space. So today, Ibrahim and I are going to really delve into one, like I said, his personal and professional journey. We'll also discuss issues around the Gambia Participate Sanson survey, and then we'll also delve into issues around really the United Democratic Party in light of some of the really interesting things that are coming out of the party, and just the most topical issue right now in respect to the party, which is the issue of succession of the party, what direction the party should take. And Ibrahima has never, hold back in respect to sharing his views or opinions in that regard. So, Ibrahima, welcome to the Dietary Space Sunday Bantaba. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here. Uh, I had a great weekend, and I know you as well. Um, just to say, you're doing an incredibly amazing job,
Thank you.
and happy to be part of your first batch of inter interviewers.
Thank you.
So hopefully, this is gonna grow to to one of the biggest platforms to ever exist in the Gambia, hopefully, or globally. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, yeah, welcome to the Dietary Space Bantaba. So first off, as we always begin, we like to really know people for who they are and what they're about and their experience so far, for as long as they continue to do the things that they do, for as long as they continue to live. So I first like to begin on the Socratic note of asking you to talk to us about who you are. What is Ibrahim about? Where is Ibrahim from? And what are some of the values that really shaped you as a man, as a person? Really, some of these things that, as a young person, that are being instilled in you, and they continue to stay with you until this day. Really, talk to us about where you come from. What was your training like in terms of academics? And I know you also went to University of the Gambia, and you're also president of the University of the Gambia at some point. So if you would walk us quickly to your formative years, both in the Gambia and outside the Gambia, to the point where you are now.
Yeah. Thank you, Ibrahim. I think that's a good question to start with. It's gonna be quick. So I am from two villages. I'm from New Yundum, and I'm from Nyamina Dankungu. uh, so just as many Gambians, I have a very humble beginning. Um, I went to the Gambia College after my secondary school. I major in English language and mathematics. After my graduation, I taught in various secondary schools across the country. Um, then I switched on and worked for the Gambia Civil Aviation Authority. Just like many of the teachers, I'm also a rat. So I work for the civil aviation, and I was within the HR department. And also, yeah, from the Gambia College, then along the lines, I went to the UTG. I studied human resource management. That was my focus. So, like you said, UTG was interesting. It was one of the best moments of my life. Um, Pretty much bigger part of my leadership journey starts there. Even community wise, I was the secretary general of New Union Sports Association, and both Farado Busumbala and Union Sports Association. I was also the secretary general. But when I went to the UTG, that's where the foundation was laid for a bigger platform. I became the president of the School of Business and Public Administration, and the following year, I became the president of the University of the Gambia Students Union. And just like by default, you become the president of National Union for Gambian Students. Pretty much that is it. Quite challenging moments, but moments to learn and to coordinate, to network, to build your social capital, all of that. It's interesting. You were Secretary General, so you were in the center of everything. Well, maybe not my time actually. I came way after you. You guys laid the foundation, and viewers might be interested to know that I belong to the team Alliance. That's where Ibrahim team belongs to. We are the team who were making Malmo cry. I have to say that.
He's not gonna be happy to hear that.
No, if he could join, he would join and say otherwise, man. He's my guy, top notch guy. Yeah. So yeah, from there I was lucky to be part of Gambian selected for the UK government evening scholarship, which gave me the opportunity to study in the London School of Economics and Political Science. So my specialization in LSE was comparative public policy analysis. Well, my research, not to go deeper, but it's about Gambia as well. Maybe we'll get into that more. After my completion, I worked for the school. I worked with the operations team in HR. Up to now, that rose to the ranks of managing the recruitment system, pretty much. And as well, studying again, I'm doing another master's along the line, very close to finishing a master's in human resources and international employment relations. So pretty much that is it academically and professionally. Thank you.
Man, that's an impressive resume for an individual your age. And to be really in one of the topmost universities, not only in England, but around the world, is pretty impressive. And to finish one master's and doing another master's as well. And on top of that, you work with the university as a recruitment manager. I think that is no small feat. And I particularly want to highlight that for people to really realize and appreciate that really the argument which we earlier highlighted, I think, some weeks ago about the importance of university education. I think you and I are examples of that, just how university have changed our life. I come from a very humble beginning where education was not, even though should be a universal right and access to it, but in practice it was not the case. We had to fight our way through a lot of hurdles to make sure we have access to various forms of school, and went through university until where we are now. We're still learning and we're still evolving. So I think to be at London School of Economics and to see some of your colleagues at Oxford, to see some of your colleagues at really top universities who are very young Gambians, it speaks to the training that we had back home. It also speaks to really the experiences that we've had back home, how that has shaped us. But uh, I'd like to take you back a little bit to your research work for your first master's. Talk to us a little bit about that. What exactly did you look at in terms of your master's thesis, if it was a master's thesis that you in fact did? Because obviously some programs, some after the end you have a capstone, others you do different forms of some they don't actually have a thesis program in some universities. So what exactly did you focus on as your dissertation?
Yeah, quite an interesting question. You're right. Not all programs are research-based programs. Others will have to do just modules, and that's it. So I did a research program, and my master's thesis was on bureaucratic motivation and performance. Basically, I made a study on the importance of pay to motivate public servants in the Gambia. So my demographic was teachers across the Gambia. So I look at whether performance can be influenced by motivation, and if yes, what kind of motivation will be able to make people perform better in the Gambia. Is it the kind of motivation that requires extrinsic, whether you have to give them money? Is it the kind of motivation that requires intrinsic, whether you have to kind of appreciate the kind of work they do and allow them to be self entitled to do the work? And I also look at key capstone, what could be done to reduce the number of intermittent strikes that were going on at the time. When I was writing my paper, this was at a time where there have been intermittent strikes across the country. Teachers were striking, doctors were striking, almost all bureaucrats were striking. So I was really curious to know whether these strikes are provoked by pay, whether money could change it, or whether there is an underlying issue that government could have done better to change it. It was an interesting one, and it exposed me to have a conversation with people that I was in their shoes at some point, to understand the dynamics, and also to have a conversation with regional education officers, to have a conversation with human resource professionals across the different five regional directors of the directorates of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. Quite an interesting one. So that's where my research was basically on.
What would you say to just the bureaucracy generally, which you and I know, and a lot of people also know, just how things are in Gambia in the work culture and in public environments, even in the private sector as well. What have you find out in your finding? What was the conclusion that you draw?
Yeah, I concluded that, well, with a caveat that in Gambian context, money is not a good motivator. Money can motivate people, but within a very short period of time. I've also find out that money will not be a reason why people will not continue their strikes. Increasing pay will not affect that, which was really something that I questioned myself even before I read to my conclusion. Because all along in my head, when people are striking, I was just like, the government has to pay, let them give them allowances, let them increase the salaries. That will change it. But the results show that that can happen. It can change their behavior, it could change their perception, but it will only be a small period of time, a short period of time, and the demands will come again. Interestingly, what I find to realize from teachers is that they felt like they are not very well involved in government decisions. They felt like they're kind of being put in situations that are led by external consultants. So I want to believe one of the ways that could have properly motivate teachers, bureaucrats, is allowing them and give them the autonomy and freedom to be part of key decisions that has to do with their life. I give you a typical example. For example, if there is a consultancy that has to do with salary reforms or service reforms, the government should find a way to include not principals but even basic low level teachers, representatives from every demographic as far as teaching and bureaucracy is concerned, to be part of it. With that, teachers do not only see this as a policy that is just put on them, but they see it as a document that they own themselves, because you're giving them the autonomy to take ownership. And when that happens, they share part of the blame if it does not work. Kind of, it's a political game, right? Than just giving them salaries, and I think that's very natural. Money will never be enough. Even your child, if you keep giving them money, if you give them 100 today, if they use it, at some point 100 will not mean anything to them. So the game that government was playing politically to, increase salaries, give them money, that was never going to be the ending solution. And that was what happened. Teachers will strike for one time, another 6 months they'll come out again and strike. It was continuing. So I find out that money was not a good motivator. I also find out that the best way to put a policy across that will make the bureaucracy to take ownership of is to allow them to be key players in the formulation of that policy.
I mean, you certainly don't also want people to work for free, do you?
Yes, quite intriguing. Now, you don't. I mean, it's a transactional business. The
Yes.
moment when as far as employment is concerned, it means a service is being delivered for a pay to be
Yeah.
given. So people have to work and they need to be paid. But the kind of pay we were doing was across the board. The government was not rewarding performance. They were not rewarding competence. They were just increasing salaries across the board. And that's a very bad thing. In human resource, what we believe as pay should be either contribution based, it should be either competence based, or it should be performance based. If you do this, people will be happy to perform better because they believe there is a reward at the end of the day. But if you don't do that, you just look at the people across the board and say everyone in grade 6 will now be moved to grade 7. If I'm a high performer, I'm not going to work harder because I will believe that whether I work hard or not, I'm not going to be rewarded. I'm going to be rewarded in group. So maybe government should have shifted to an individual reward system that will specifically pay performance. There is a whole lot of debate around that because other people will say, how can you measure performance? What will you say? What is good performance and what is bad performance? But still, the debate goes on to the onus is on the government to create those definitions. What's good performance? What's bad performance? What is a better performance? What will be rewarded and what wouldn't be rewarded? It's quite complicated, but the caveat kind of that's
Yeah.
where this debate heads to.
And one last issue on this particular subject before I really make you move on to something completely different is what is your assessment of, this is an important subject. What really is your assessment of the remuneration system of our public service, and to some extent to even our private sector? Like, obviously, this perhaps even more than me. Like, the top officials in the government have created this system where they get almost what far more than whatever is it that the middle public servants and the lower public servants comparatively they get way less, right? And it doesn't seem to me like it's a very equitable system. And the judiciary did it. The first people to do it at the National Assembly. They've also done similar thing for the president. I think if you really critically look at the amount of money that top officials in the three arms of government are earning, you tend to wonder, and I've said this several times, who do these people really work for? If we're able to create this system that is so imbalanced that the people that are supposed to work for us, yeah, granted, we're not supposed to be paid exactly the same. Society and like our system of employment is not created such a way that everybody earns exactly the same. But we're supposed to create such an equitable and fair system where the teacher gets exactly what he deserves, the nurse gets exactly what he deserves, the parliamentarian or National Assembly member like Honorable Yaya Menteng, who is on the chat right now, gets exactly what he deserves. But these three arms of government have created a system where what they continue to earn or how they remunerate or compensate themselves is not reflective of the ordinary person who voted for them in office. And that's just the reality. So, what is your view or assessment of that? How do we create that balance across the board? And it's not just, oh, we increase the pay of the president and everybody else that is associated with the top brass of the government, while the rest of it, because the truth is that life is hard in Gambia. And we can continue to blame different sectors of inflation or just the international crisis situations around the world as an excuse, because the job of a government is to create a system that is workable for everybody. It cannot just be for the few.
Yeah. Yeah, I quite agree with you. Your analysis speaks volumes about the reality of our situation. I think we all along we were kind of not using a holistic approach in terms of our pay systems. They're quite very, very unfair. Um, I mean, you're talking about it from, in fact, higher perspective of things. But even in the lower perspective of things, where the government will increase salaries across the board, from permanent secretaries, from people at the grading system, that was quite unfair, where they say everybody will have 50% increment. That's so unfair, even if you look at it from a basic level, because literally what you are saying is the person who is earning 2,000 will earn 4,000. Will earn 3,000 if it is a 50% increment. Will earn 3,000. But if there's someone who is earning 50,000, they are earning a whooping 75,000.
Yeah.
So the increment is not fair, right? So if you're looking at increments, you need to look at it holistically and you need to look at it realistically. But the reality is, I think the politicians have a very bad way of drawing conclusions and comparisons. They will tell you, do you know how National Assembly members are paid in Nigeria? They will tell you, do you know how judges are
The
paid
reality is not the same.
in the US, but they are not telling you how much teachers are paid in the US. They
Yeah.
are not telling you how much nurses are paid in the UK. They're not telling you that. So if you are trying to make direct comparisons, it should not be one-sided. The comparisons should be across the board. Draw how teachers are paid in the US and in the Gambia, how judges or national assembly members or senators are paid in the US and in Gambia, then you will come to realize that when there is increment, it should definitely be linked. But it's quite
Yeah.
very unfair, and it is kind of inconsiderate, because sometimes you tend to wonder what is the reality when it comes to some of these things. Because if some of these bills are put into parliament, everybody votes for it.
Yeah.
Everyone, all of them goes for it. If he gets to the presidency, he doesn't hesitate. He will sign it right away. I mean, and that's why I did not blame judiciary to a certain degree when they pushed
Right.
in for their pay, because you are within the same ranks in the other arms. The
Yeah.
presidency, the executive increase their salary, assembly members increase their salary. What are you waiting for? You will
Yeah.
do the same thing. So it's quite very unfair. It does not speak to equity, like you said,
Yeah.
and the comparisons that are really done between the two to defend it is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's sad. I always like to be an advocate for the lower masses of the society, which I mean, Fanon called the lumen proletariat. Ali and I had a discussion about this too. I mean, a few days ago. But we can discuss this over. We're not going to end it. I think the public administration of the Gambia is so complicated, but also so bad that sometimes you tend to wonder what is it going to take for us to change that system, that people go to work every day and feel rewarded enough to take care of themselves and their problems, that their perennial problems at that they continue to have in their life. But so you live in England now and you work at the London School of Economics, and obviously you also worked in Gambia at civil aviation for a couple of years. So talk to us about it a little bit. Obviously you studied English language, and then you came to University of the Gambia. You did human resource, and then now at LSE you're still involved in human resource in some form, where even full time basis. But from English language to human resource, those are in some ways not particularly like obviously if you want to be a lawyer, you go to I mean GDTI, do a certificate level in law, and then you go to law school. So it's just like there is a consistent area of specialization that you're focusing on. But why English language and then human resource and an MPA at LSC? What's your thinking in making those decisions?
Yeah, quite a great one. If you ask me, at the formative ages, I would say, I mean, it's just natural of many Gambians at the time. Sometimes you are kind of swayed with the wave, right? When I was going to the Gambia College, in my head, because sometimes you want to stand out, I was like, okay, I'm going to do the two most difficult subjects. And before I got into there, everyone was saying, oh, English and maths was difficult. There are two subjects that are incompatible. So because sometimes you have that natural belief that you want to stand out or you want to prove a point, and you just go do it. Yeah. So that's the main reason why I get into the college doing HTC and focusing on English and math. But I think that was a very good decision for me, because it helped both my quantitative and qualitative skills, in my development to research and to the broader spectrum of education. Um, yeah, and that was interesting. So when I went to the Civil Aviation Authority, I had an opportunity to, interact with so many human resource professionals, and I began to develop so much interest about employment and employability, and as well policy, because human resource is run on the idea of policy. So I was like, I will have to do this, and that's why I enrolled in the program at the UTG at the time, and it was a very not many people do it, because a lot of time people don't do HR, they will do other courses like development studies. If you go to BPA, they do management and MPA. So it's the same idea. I don't want to do what everyone was doing, so I did HR, which was really good. So, but in human resource, you have like a lot of policy courses. Employment law is about policy. Human resource policy is about policy. Human resource procedure is about policy. Human resource process is about policy. So, policy is in the center of human resource, because anything that HR officers do, as far as they're doing the right thing, they're doing it based on work policies, work on employment policies, based on employment legislation. So that idea made me want to understand the broader spectrum of policy. And at least I have an understanding of policy at an organizational level. I have an understanding of human resource and policy at underground level. So I felt like, how about look at policy, in a broader spectrum, like do policy as policy in itself. So this is why I went for public policy and public administration, and obviously public administration has a component of human resource as well.
Yeah.
That's where my motivation lies, and I want to switch more to strategy and to be more impactful, not just to be functional. And I felt that was a good tip at the time. And I just went to Facebook. I did not know anything about LSE. I just went to uh, I just went to Safari and I searched which university is the best public policy university in the world. So at the time in 2021, LSE was ranked fourth. So Google topped LSE and all that. I was like, okay. Then I searched the university just like that. I saw it,
Yeah.
read about it, and do my application. Comes with a lot of process. I'm not getting into that, but finally made it in. Yeah.
Yeah. And at this juncture, also, it will be important to highlight also that you were the president, or at least you must have graduated when you applied for Chevening Scholarship, which is a prestigious program, has changed the lives of a lot of people that I know, including my very good friend, Fali Fadera, among other people that I know. And one thing I could certainly speak to that gives a lot of credence to a lot of applications for the Chevening Scholarship is not only your academics, which, by the way, you were a top student. I know that you graduated on top of your class. You had one of the highest CGPAs in your graduating class. So that's not a problem. But sometimes that is not enough for a lot of people to make it to really these top schools. And also that boils down to another critical discussion that we were having last week about university degrees and just the admission into some of these universities. What a lot of people don't get is even here in the United States, the grade alone in itself is not enough to get you into really top schools. You need a combination of factors. You need a certain level of experience, of leadership, of community service, because if it is just grades, schools will just admit people with just really good grades. But that's not what the only thing that they're looking for is significant, but there's other factors that schools want because you bring with you a unique experience by virtue of your lived experiences, one, but also your leadership experiences dealing with different sets and groups of people at the university level and also at your community level. So that always, I believe, even at your case, must have led credence to your application, right? Your experience working for civil aviation, your involvement as student president of the University of the Gambia. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you're quite right, Ibrahim. I followed that program, and that was, I think, that was a very, very thought-provoking conversation. You guys made very, very good points that people need to look at, and well, especially students going to UTG, not only students, but broader spectrum of the society, because I have an understanding that people attach competence to education, they attach competence to getting the degrees, getting the masters, the bachelors, the PhDs. These are, well, the two different things, two different points. I mean, you're right. I mean, for me, my evening application was a very I mean, when I started achieving as a first-time applicant, credit to Mfali Fadera, to Abdullah Kuran, my top-notch editor. Like, I was more focused on academics. I was like, oh, I completed my Gambia College with distinction in English and Maths. I completed as the overall best student in School of Business and Public Administration. Completed as the second overall best student in UTG. I was just talking about academics, my grades, and all that. The tutorial cycles I established in PPA, how I serve as a tutor. I mean, that's all what I've been writing. And I mean, when Kura read my application, he laughed and said, Ibrahim, yeah, you did very well academically. He said, the people that are reading your application, they are not only interested in academics. Think about what you've been doing for society, how impactful you are. I think you have a lot to offer, not just only academics. And that advice helped me to look at my application from another point of view, and I had to completely change the application. I don't think I have anything to do with my grades. Nothing in the application says that. It only talk about my leadership. It talks about how I was able to impact on students at the University of the Gambia. Talks about how I was able to navigate the COVID-19, how I was able to ensure that learning continues despite people staying at home. Talks about how I was able to link with external organizations to provide scholarship for students of the University of the Gambia. Talk about leading one of the best and first ever research exercises by university students and getting published. Talk about getting part and advising on the second strategic priority of the Gambia National Development Plan. Still, remember the priority is priority two, which is about stimulating our economy and stimulating and ensuring growth. That was the NDP 2017 to 2021. Well, and talk about my leadership in my community, how we were able to fence our football field. And interestingly, when I went to when I was writing my application to LSC, they were very interested in what I was doing in my community and in the UTG in terms of leaders. Of course, they paid a great attention to the grades, right? But after they were more interested in that, they asked me to write personal statements of academic purpose reflecting that. So definitely, you are very, very right. The community, what you do for your community, how you are impactful in the environment, that is really, really key. And it's sometimes I feel like it's way, way, way overrated. But the reason why people go to school is to become critical thinkers.
Mhm.
That's why we sit in the class. Education does not answer any question for you. It just gives you the platform to be able to think critically. And then I'm not sure if people understand that, but if you come to understand that at some point, you understand that organizations do not worry about the degrees they have. I mean, I work in the university and I work in recruitment. I am telling you, apart from academic roles, most of the professional service roles, we do not have people who even go to uni. I mean, where I work right now, my seniors, three of the people that are way, way ahead of me, they can be sleeping and take me the job. They've never attended university education. I got master's degree. They will be like, oh, we have somebody who got a master's in LSE. He studied in our university, boast of me. But the reality is, they can close their eyes and tell me, Ibrahim, this is how to do the job, because that is what matters. And
Yeah.
honestly, if I am sitting in a panel to take somebody the job, if I am writing my job description or I'm writing my passing specification, I want somebody who will be able to do the job. I do not worry about the number of qualifications that you have. So, like you said, what matters, this is not to downplay education, it's important. That's why I said education helps you to build a critical mind. It helps you to be independent, to be able to make your decisions for yourself. And that's why sometimes people will say, why are people not thinking critically and they're educated? And even that comes to our politics. When we say someone has a degree or has a master's degree and thinking in a certain way, you question, why is he not being critical? I mean, critical is also very much not defined, but there are certain things that we believe that criticality fall within those portfolios. So yeah, like you said, the leadership part was very important, and that really helped me. And up till today, it helps in every decision I make in my life, not only you know professionally or academically, but even socially, family wise. So that's quite important. I think, let me give you the credit. We got the motivation from people like you, from people like Bugs, people like Malmo, people like Alpha. I mean, some of us when we were going to the UTG, we were so much bookies. We were not even thinking about anything like leadership. But when we sat behind and see young folks like you come into classes, face the public, talk to them about their problems, you don't only stop there. You went ahead to come up with strategies to change the status quo in the university, to challenge the status quo. I mean, it was like a clarion call for people like us. And, we remain grateful for all you guys have done. I mean, and obviously, I think that's something that we also lay our foundation to do bigger things as well. So, kudos to you and everyone else out there.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is why it gets really interesting, right? And for you, I could be suffice to say you've made a seamless transition from student president of the University of the Gambia to national president of the Gambia Students Union to eventually being a member of the United Democratic Party of the Gambia. Ibrahim Dampha, why the United Democratic Party?
Yeah, I'll be very honest. Sometimes some people say I read the policies and all that, and that's why I'm in UDP now. That's not my case. Later, I read the policies, but I was born in UDP. I was born in a society that is UDP. I was UDP by default. My parents are UDP. I didn't know any political party apart from the United Democratic Party. The community that I was brought up is purely UDP. So for me, UDP, I take huge ownership of it. It's like mine, right? Later on, when criticality comes into play, I had the opportunity to read our policies. Our agenda, right? Have the opportunity to interact deeply with it, and I come to realize that naturally I am in this party by default, but this party is also a very, very purposeful party. It's a party that has an agenda, party that put Gambians at the center of everything that it does. And it's a party that love progression, party that fancies democracy, fancies human rights, and it's a party that teaches those principles and those etiquettes. So this is the main reason why I remain in UDP, because I was gonna say if this was not the case, I was gonna move. But I mean, these are the principles, and then when I get into the party, these are the people that I've seen interacted with, top-notch members of the party. I've come to understand that they have Gambia at the heart. People like Mayor Talib Bensouda, they love Gambia. People like Youngs Dabo, when they speak, they love Gambia. People like Usainu Dabo, there's no one who love Gambia more than him. I mean, there are other political parties that love Gambia, but I want to believe UDP is one of those parties that do not just only love Gambia by heart, but have played a part, even physically. I mean, what we went through as a party, no political party went through that. So these are the beliefs that I had, and this is the reason why I remain in the party. And this is also the reason why I think the party should win elections. And this is the reason why I believe the party should not just be an opposition, should be a party that give directives on how government change. This is the party. This is the reason why I believe that we should be a party that focus on winning and changing the status quo instead of just a party that will remain in the opposition. And I believe this is the whole idea behind UDP, behind the party leader, behind Mayor Talib Bensouda, Himali Law, and everyone else out there. So that's why Ibrahim and UDP. And just for sometimes I make criticality, I made some posts and people will question if I'm even UDP. I'm not just only a member of UDP, I am a carrier member of the United Democratic Party, and I'm one of those people who buy my flight ticket, go back to Gambia purposely to vote for Usainu Dabo because I believe he's one of the best leaders Gambia ever has. So I'm a member of the United Democratic Party. Right.
I mean, the party is going through an interesting phase. I think everybody can agree to that, and but it's also credit to the party for such an incredible, like growth in respect to where the party is right now. Because who would have thought that in 2025 the main focus of our political discourse would be who the flag bearer of the major political party in the Gambia would be for the next elections. So I think sometimes that gets lost in the conversation, and people are like, "Oh, UDP are just attacking each other. They're just vilifying each other. They're demeaning each other," which is in fact is true because everybody have their preferred candidate, but we can still have a dialogue around that in a much more cordial and respectful way, where we're listening to each other we're not sending things each other's way that would otherwise, if I meet Ebrima, I have to put my head down. Because
Yeah.
one of the day too, people need to realize these are politicians that we're fighting and we're arguing about. These are like, that's literally what they are. That's their profession. That's their job. What they want to do is to grasp power, power and control. And the more power and control they have, the more they want to get. And this is example President Barrow, who was an absolute novice. And until
Mhm.
today, I do not think he has any business being president of the Gambia, because he has absolutely no understanding of how to be a president until today. And you would think that almost 10 years of being in office, you would
Mhm.
learn, because people naturally learn through progression, right? And not that he hasn't learned anything, but he doesn't come across to me as somebody who really understands the the direness of the time that we are in as a country, and the
Mhm.
need to put to pedestal the country to the level that it deserves, because it's been what, 50 years since independence, and we're
Mhm.
still struggling for electricity, we're still struggling for water, we're still struggling for basic food. Transport fares are incredibly high. Everything in that country is so hard, and the only thing you want to show for it is we got money for OIC project to build roads. That is important, but that is not sufficient, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so United Democratic Party has always tried to present itself as an alternative to the
Mhm.
Gambians, right? And Gambians in many presidential elections have said, no, we don't want a United Democratic Party presidency in the office, especially for the several times that Honorable Alhaji Usainu Dawo has run for office of presidency in the Gambia. And this has always been my issue with the United Democratic, not even my issue, but this has always been my argument with the United Democratic Party.
Mhm.
You can tell me what you think about this too, but this is an important conversation. If you have an individual as powerful as the person of Honorable Usainu Dabo, who have reached the second most important office in the Gambia as vice president, and continues to be the secretary general of the biggest opposition party in the Gambia, and also leads the party which arguably has the highest number of qualified and competent and really like intellectuals from our community that are part of that party, and has molded individuals in their party who, in the opinion of a lot of people, are ready to step up. What is the reason why, or why should there be a reason why Usainu to still be at this age, and still there is almost like a blind loyalty to members of the party to want to stick with him, even though the party could take a whole new direction? What do you think that people still want Usainu Dabo to run?
Yeah, I mean, these are questions that I do ask as well. Just like you say, old credit to Bausin, like I've written about it sometime. That I don't think there is a politician that has ever existed in the face of the Gambia or in our political landscape like Hussein Dawa. And I don't think we will ever have somebody like Hussein Dawa. I mean, the sacrifice that he have done, his intelligence, his family, I mean, the devotion that he has for the party and for the Gambia is unquestionable, especially stepping up at a time where this qualification that he has at the time, if you have that, you are guaranteed of a, you know, an enjoyable life. He step up, and take the bullet he doesn't dodge. He deserves credits for that. I mean, so I think he's somebody that needs that everyone should reckon as far as our politics is concerned. But like you said, I mean, change is constant and it's natural. We must be able to embrace that, and we must be able to accept that. And in the cornerstone of political success is strategy. If you give a deaf eye to strategy, if you disregard strategy in politics, you will remain in politics, but you will not remain vibrant. And I think this is one of the reasons why I believe people, my colleagues in UDP, need to look at sometimes need to look at the broader picture of things. It's always a saying that you don't always have to be in the forefront to be a leader. Sometimes you can be behind and be the best leader to be ever existed. I'll give you an example. Many people did not know this. When I became the president of the University of the Gambia Students Union, I was the face. Everybody was seeing me. But I have the Mohammed Kanyes. I have the Yankuba Manes. Right? There is no decision that I have made without those people inputting on it. They will advise. Obviously, I make the final decision, but they will show me actually where the way is. And especially Mohammed Kanye, he will confront me, well, in closeness, and my conscience will not allow me to do certain things. And today, I think I'm considered, well, fairly a good leader at the time because of people like him. But the credit all comes to me. So he was leading. Nobody was seeing him, but he was leading from behind. So I think people like Baus, their leadership will be needed in that country forever, whether they're president or not. But I think this time, the time that we're in a very critical time. Then this is the time to understand that winning is important. To understand that collaboration is more important. To understand that history is something that we need to learn from. It is not only the path left by the past. It influences today and determines what happened in the future. So we need to understand the reality of it. We need to respect numbers. And I agree with you that I think now is the time for us to agree with the core that he needs to give up, not to give up on the party, but to give up on standing for elections again. That's the opinion that I have.
And
And this is not a very popular opinion, very difficult to say because when you say
I
you
mean, it
finish,
shouldn't be difficult, Ibrahima. We're all Gambians.
yes,
I don't think, for me, that's always my thing is,
yes,
look, these are, one, they're politicians, and two, they are public officials. They have
yeah,
an interest in running
mm,
the affairs of our country. Yes,
yeah,
granted, you have more stake in the United Democratic Party than I do because I'm not a card holding member. And
yeah.
for you, you can talk to me about, like emoting or even invoking emotions to it because you have some form of sentimental attachment, as everybody does with their political party or affiliation.
I
But
agree, I agree with you on 100%. And that comes to the question, and that has been my point all along, that this is the time that he needs to, he's not giving up. He's not leaving the party. He's giving chance to, anyone. The UDP has one of the best leaders. And it's just common sense for us to know that Bao's, trying, even before some of us were born, up to now, he is not winning. It's not because he's not a good leader. No. It's not because he's not the best person there. No. Sometimes it's just because of the voters out there. And last election was a clear indication that even though some of us really want him and believe he's the best leader, but Gambians have a different option. And it has come to a situation in Gambia where the voters, they either vote against Ba Usienu, all right, and have a bad leader
oh, they
that
rather
votes.
have I don't mean to
So
cut you short.
elections,
They
elections,
rather have
elections.
President Barrow.
Yeah,
They rather, I'm telling you right now, like I've not
yeah,
conducted any research or whatever to come to this conclusion. But from last election, if there's anything we know, is
yeah,
Gambians rather stick with President Barrow or some really terrible leader
yeah.
than voting for Alhaji Usainu Dabo, even though
And
there is,
that's shameful, Ibrahim. It's
yes.
shameful that there are not even concrete reasons, about it. But as a political party, you need
I
to
mean, there
understand.
are. Don't Ibrahim? Don't no. I disagree with that. Let's not even
Yes,
say there are no concrete. There are reasons why
yes,
Gambians don't want to vote for him. There's a perception around his candidacy. That's just the reality, right? And unless we really challenge, which the party continues to try to do, I don't think they're doing enough. And I had a discussion with Lamin Sani, and he said, "Oh, we're trying." Said your party is not doing enough to dispel some of those perceptions that are out there. Granted,
mhm,
somebody who has already had a prejudicial mind and do not intend to vote for Hussein Dab, I don't think will succeed in trying to convince those people to align with their party. But
mhm,
election is about winning. If we're not
yeah,
bringing people to our party and we
mhm,
believe in this idea of this character of Usainu Dabo that he is, it's almost like you are rewarding him for his loyalty and work to the party,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
one thing. But to have the ability to unite the party and those outside the party to come together on an idea that UDP is a better alternative to President Barrow. I'm not convinced the party is doing that for me. And I
yeah,
think I can speak for a lot of people out there who are saying that an Usainu Dabo presidency is not appealing to them, that they listen to Usainu Dabo, he does not resonate with them. And that's
mhm,
not even to say that, oh,
mhm,
Usainu is not articulate or is not smart. That's not even a critique of Usainu Dabo. I'm just saying, like, for example, an individual like me, I was
mhm,
born in 1994. I was pretty young. From 1994 to this stage, I've tried to closely keep an eye on government politics, just like yourself. And
mhm,
as a lawyer, I studied law myself. I have a pretty decent, I mean, legal. I think I'm a reasonable person. That's just the way to put it, right? And
mhm,
whenever Usaini talks about issues, sometimes I struggle to really connect in terms of the
Mhm.
practicality of them, not to take anything away from them, but I also think that that relatability between where he is and his age
Mhm.
and ideas
Mhm.
is almost far removed from some of us and where we are, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think the party needs to find a way to connect with, a lot of young people, a lot of youthful people like at our age who really are interested in ideas, not
Yeah.
just because we want to associate with the United Democratic Party because we believe Usainu Dawa has done a lot of sacrifice or things for the party. That's
Yeah.
not enough, right?
Yeah.
And Khalifa Salah has done the similar things, right?
Mm.
But that's the struggle. So how
Mm.
do we find the balance to ensure that the party realizes that to lose elections that much and still want the same person to run for office is simply the definition of insanity?
Yeah. So I think I beg to differ with you when it comes to how appealing he is when he, because people like me, honestly, for some reason, I mean, I respect your opinion, but personally, when Bausino speaks, I see wisdom in his speeches, and I do learn a lot when
I
he
mean,
when he
there's
makes.
wisdom. It's just not charismatic.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I mean, charismatic is very subjective.
it's true. I totally
What
agree.
might be charismatic to you might not be. So for me, I find it highly charismatic, right? And then I think he is somebody that speaks to the truth as far as our politics is concerned. But coming to your point, I think this is the time for Ba Usenu not just only to give up, but this is the time for him to show Gambians that he is the best in preparing leaders. He is the best in making leaders, and I think that's who he is. He is the first political opposition in the Gambia who was able to win the biggest municipalities in the country. With his leadership, he was able to get leaders from different municipalities, and he was able to make sure all of them run on his image and they won. So that shows that he's the best leader. The best leader is not just the best leader. The best leader is the leader who make best leaders. And that's why, to me, he's the best leader. So I feel this is the right time for him to give opportunity to the people that he made and then lead from behind. And we are not short of leaders in the United Democratic Party, right? And then sometimes when we argue, make these arguments, people will like, oh, well, people who are saying that Bausen should give up, they don't have a point. I mean, people have a point. I mean, for me in 2021, when
Everyone has
people
a
were
point. Yes.
critically critiquing his age, I think I wrote a piece about it, and I said age is a poor predictor of performance. And I argue that somebody's age should not be a determinant on
I
whether he will
mean,
perform
I
or
mean,
not.
Ibrahim, I think it's
Yeah.
also case
No,
specific. It's
that,
still good.
that's
I mean, listen, you
that talks to reality. I mean, and that
yeah.
talks to reside reality. But the
Okay,
fact of
cool.
the
Yeah,
matter here right now, it's not about age. It's about the record, right?
yeah.
It's not only about age, but it's about the practice. It's not about the age. It's about the potentiality to win. You understand?
Electability.
And
Yes.
also the fact of showing Gambians that you were saying that we are a one-man party. That's not true. We are not one-man party, right? So this is the time for us to step up, and I think there is no other person who can do it any other than Bausin. He should be the one to let us know that he's not going to stand for. He's going to support anybody who is selected. I think he should not run. In my opinion, if he runs, it's going to be another defeat, just like any other things, because nothing changed. Because as if you lose in politics, you need to strategize and see how can I win. The only way you can win if is the circumstance change, right? What changes? What are the changes? There is no
Nothing.
real change. So
Yes.
if there are no changes, then therefore you should know. And these are things that have been said everywhere. Now that there is an empirical evidence to show this, and it doesn't only show you that you are not going to win, but it's showing you that you are not going to win, but you have created somebody who can win on your name. That is the greatest gift anybody can have. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So
Yes.
here, the opinion polls is telling you the president is going to win. That's what he says. I don't want to go before you ask the questions there. It says, I don't know whether people know the opinion polls is saying that, well, a lot of people say that President Barrow should not run. That's true. But in terms of who is going to win, the voting assumptions at this time, it is saying that it is
But
President
will
Barrow
win.
win.
Yeah.
So which nothing changed. So the only way, the poll is telling you the only way that we can win as an opposition is through a coalition. And that is the truth. In the Gambia, if you look at it in history, there has never been a single political party that has ever won an election. That's the truth.
Yeah.
Even APRC, the truth is, they has never won an election. They have never, Yahya Jammeh has never won an election by himself. He's been winning through a coalition, but he has a strategy in and way to control it. When political parties join him, he doesn't call it a coalition, he call it cross-carpeting. But he was a coalition. That's the reality. The only reason why Adam Barrow won in 2016 is because it's a coalition. The reason why Jawara was won in Jawara was winning on coalition. The reason why Adam Barrow won in the last election is because of a coalition. Citizens Alliance, Dr. Sisi and his team, all of them were him. That's the truth, whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
Right? So it was a coalition. So as an opposition political party, results and data is saying you even the incumbent can only win through a coalition, and you have a leadership that finds it very difficult to bring people together in terms of coaliting, but you have options that research is telling you this person can bring everybody together and you can win through him, then that is an opportunity you need to leverage. You need to take advantage of that. So for me, I agree with you in terms of that. I believe the research speaks to the truth. It speaks to the reality of our circumstance. I've not seen anybody who is questioning the sample size. I've not seen anybody who is.
Oh, your boy is coming. You know, Tuba is coming. He's coming with.
I was expecting him here.
You know what he said? He actually said to me, you know, Talib's name has been mentioned on this report 40 times. I said, Tuba, focus on the much more important issues. This is peripheral. I said, bro, stop making this completely partisan. I said, no. But he said, you know, I can't.
You know, let's answer one question about it. You know, some people were even saying, why is, you know, well, Tom, I know you did research many times. If you do research, you don't question why the researcher questioned the question he questioned. You question the validity of his question. And his question, every research question is always prominent based on the needs in our society. And whether you want to agree with me or not, there's no question that is boiling in Gambian society right now than the question of whether Adam Barrow should run again. There's no question that is boiling in our society than the question of should Usenuda will stand again. There's no question that is boiling in our society than the question of who should replace Usenuda. There's no question that is boiling in our society that names of Yankuba Dawa is coming up, names of Talib Bensouda is coming up, names of Rahim Malik Law is coming up. So these are boiling questions. And that's the important research. Research comes in to answer questions. You research to answer questions that society don't know of.
And we cannot have a situation where when the research is is in alignment with our interests, then we support the research. If the research outcome is critical of our beliefs or our interests, then we question the research.
You know, funnily, I look at Facebook. Many of the people who are even been critical of this. You know, let's be fair, Tom. It's okay to be critical about research because that's normal. I mean, even researchers want people that will be critical about them, but be reasonably critical, right? So here, the objective. So the people that are been critical about, they're not even. For me, the problem is even if you're critical about the findings, I don't have a problem with that. But you're not critical about the institution, and you forget that the same institution just months ago published a report that the Gambia is highly corrupt and President Barrow is corrupt, and you're celebrating it, you're sharing it everywhere. You're okay with not just the results, but you are very, very okay with the credibility of the institution. That's separate. But now, because it's not in your favor, you're critical not just only about the results, but you're critical about the institution, calling them that they've been paid, you know, kind of alleging that politicians paid them, and they already said very clearly that this program or this report is being financed by this particular institution. They give you the results, they give you all answers, but you're still adamant. I think that is the height of unreasonability. So I think, you know, they said wise politicians, they might not agree with research on the periphery, on the platform, but below underneath, they go and work on numbers. And I want to quote Yankuba Dawa, you know, in his last elections with his words with Kefar. He's one of the best leaders in the country. I have to give him that. He said when
you're very charitable with these UTG members.
He said, you know,
you're very charitable with them.
Don't leave my people alone. He said something you'll be interested to know. He said when separate results were out and he looked at the results, he said he agreed with the results because at Combo North they were not doing well. He said it's because of the results he changed his, well, he and his people were not visiting Combo North and they visit. So which means they changed their strategy. And
Yeah.
the results speak to the truth. The results said there were a lot of undecided voters. And that
Mhm.
is what Yankwa did. He leveraged on what Sepra said to reach out to those undecided voters. According to him, well, according to the explanation of what he says, because he is saying that Cyprus shows that they were not doing well in Component, and he told his people, let's strategize and go there. Well, that's the video that I saw. I don't think that there's evidence of that. So, well, he might not agree in the periphery or in the outlook, but underneath he changed his strategy. So I feel like UDP, our party, should follow its democratic values, allowing people to contest internally and all of those things. But I feel like when we are a party that questions certain things, we need to be able to inculcate that. If we are the party that keeps questioning about President Adam Barrow's, ability to stand for elections continuously, we should be able to question internally that our party leaders should not be able to stand 6, 7, or 5 times more if we have other people who are willing to step up, right? I mean, it's an internal democratic process. I understand that, but in my candid opinion, looking at the numbers, looking at what, well, especially Talib Ahmed Bensouda, what he did in KMC is quite incredible. Nobody is even saying bring this young man because of other factors I don't want to mention, because I want to be very critical with my wordings, because Gambians have a way of twisting, right? But because he is very competent, he is educated, he has a track record of winning, he have a track record of delivering on his campaign promises. He have a track record of fighting corruption. He have a track record of unifying people. He have a track record of discipline. He have a track record of everything that a contemporary politician needs. And this person belongs to your political party. You make this party who he is. He has never betrayed you. You have never shown any sign of betrayal. And I think this is the right time for you to step up and give him the opportunity. And sometimes it's very sad if you see certain things in the UDP, it boils your heart. But to me, I don't think Usino Dabo will say that, and I don't think executive will say that. For example, when people like us think that Talib should be the party flag bearer now, not the party leader, but the party flag bearer, and some people will say, let him form his political party.
Mhm.
We need to learn from history. These are the same statements we told Adam Barrow.
Yeah.
That's the truth. We told him to go and form his political party. He went and formed his political party. He voted us.
Yeah.
And the election, whether there have been people that were wrongly registered, that's something I question very well. But the number of votes that have been counted were very true. Nobody can question that. You will not
Yeah.
see anyone who will tell you they have seen electoral officers removing Adam Barrow's Usainu Dabo's vote and giving it to Adam Barrow. Nobody will be able to tell you that because there is no evidence of that. It is on the spot counting. So if there was any cheating, it was done before elections. But on the counting, what was counted, Adam Barrow won and won landslide. So no cheating there. That's the truth, whether we want it or not. So we need to re-strategize. We don't need to be emotional. We need to understand that we need to work as a team, as a family, as a party that is the best opposition party in the country, and allow and give the opportunity for somebody to lead, somebody who has a huge potential of winning. And this hurts other people when you say potential of winning, but it's important. The
Yeah.
only reason why political parties exist is to win and change the status quo in a country. If you are a political party and you don't have an agenda of winning and changing the status quo, then you might well reconsider what you are. Because that's what I thought. That's my thinking. That UDP wants to win. They don't just only want to win, but they want to change how Gambia is run. But
Yeah.
you cannot change that unless you win. And you cannot win unless you understand your own history. We understand our history. We just need to understand realities and re-strategize the position, restructure, bring everybody together. Do not exclude anybody. Do not think that you are the owner of the party. Do not put another person is an outsider. To bring everybody together. Because in Gambian politics, the person that appears as the person that has corners from everywhere is the person that always wins. Adam Barrow in Dr. Season's word is the most clueless person in the Gambia.
Mhm.
But the only reason why he always win is because he, in identity wise, he touch everywhere. You know what I mean? And he's very tolerant. He understands people. He's very inclusive. These are the things why he win. So we should also understand that we need to be inclusive. We need to welcome people. We don't need to send people away. We don't need to tell people to go and form their political parties. We don't need to tell people that we don't need their votes. We don't need to tell people that we don't owe them any responsibility. That's not what politicians. That's not how a politician speaks. No,
Mhm.
a politician need to say things that are true and that are welcoming, that are inclusive, that are progressive.
And
So
uniting.
and uniting. So I feel like, and if you look at our documents, UDP, these are our principles. The principles of unity, the principle of inclusion, the principle of democracy, the principle of progression. These are the principles. So it's just an idea of it's just an idea of practicalizing those principles for us to be in the presidency.
And let me say this, Ibrahim, too. As an outsider looking in, I'm not a member of the United Democratic Party. I'm not a member of any political party in the Gambia. I am a person of interest because I am a Gambian, like a lot of other people who are Gambians, who our basic preoccupation is to ensure that we have a leader that is better than President Barrow. We
Mhm,
cannot settle for the bare minimum because honestly, I think President Barrow is the bare minimum. Gambians should never settle for that. But President
mhm,
Barrow also bring a level of like comfort to Gambians in terms of peace, right?
mhm,
Which is important. If there is one thing I know for a fact in Gambia is Gambians care a lot about the stability of our country.
mhm,
And because of our experience with former President Jammeh, what he has made us endure, we've get to a place where, like, even if we're hungry, even if we continue to suffer, if this guy does not beat us, does not pick us up in the middle of the night and go jail us, does not terrorize us, we can
mhm,
settle with a peaceful guy because peace is a very fundamental cornerstone of who we are as a people.
mhm,
But as an outsider looking in and looking at some of the things that is happening in the party right now, and especially in terms of drawing the prospective equivalence between Yankuba Dabo and also Talib Ahmed Bensouda, who seems to be the forerunners for the party if in case Usainu Dabo do not run. I know other people are there too, but they are not so, like popular as these two are. And for example, Yankuba Dabo has come out publicly to indict Talib Bensouda and make some very chilling accusations against Talib Bensouda, so much so that he even threatened that he's going to leave the party if the party settle with the candidacy of Talib Ahmed Bensouda.
mhm,
Now, this is my question: is are we going to get to a place where there is even a slight possibility that if United Democratic Party settles with Honorable Alaji Usainu Dabo,
mhm,
that individuals like Talib Bensouda, who it seems to me from a lot of indications from some factions of the party, want Talib
mhm,
Bensouda away from the party. Because if the party settles with Talib Bensouda, they're going to leave. They don't
mhm,
even entertain a conversation about that. So much that
mhm,
recently I know Talib is appearing before the commission tomorrow, and
mhm,
members of your party are literally coming out to
mhm,
preempt that there's going to be some terrible informations that are going to characterize Talib's testimony.
mhm,
And this is a member of your party. It's one thing to be objective to hold, but also at the end of the day, that
mhm,
I'm not going to be part of a party and hope Usainu Dawo fails, or
mhm,
Lamin Sane fails, or Rohit Malik Low fails, or Talib Bensouda fails.
mhm,
I think also leadership comes with certain faults, but we cannot take away from them generally what they've done. We cannot take away from what Usainu Dawo have done. The same way we cannot take away from what Talib Bensouda have done.
mhm,
But I think the manner in which things have been handled for an
mhm,
outsider like me looking in, I can foresee a possibility as the survey predicted, Talib Bensouda aligning with somebody else and forming a team to run by themselves. That is not a far-fetched conclusion, would you not
mhm.
say?
Yeah, I think Tom, you're very right. And one thing that makes you what makes conversation with you intriguing is because you know the facts and you go after them, and you speak of evidence. And personally, I was very very disappointed to hear Yankuba Dabo say that he's going to consider leaving the party when Taliban Suda is considered as a flag bearer. And that tells you how some of our people are very unfair to Taliban Suda. This guy, nobody knows him before he becomes. Well, I don't know him before he becomes a member of the UDP. We only know him is because of UDP. It's UDP who makes him who he is. So if you make somebody who he is, and now you are publicly excluding that person from your party. I think that's quite very, very unfair. And to be fair to Talib, um, even though I align with his leadership, I support him. I've not seen him anywhere publicly to ridicule Yankuba. He's never said Yankuba is selected, he's going to leave the party. He's never ridiculed Rohi. He never ridiculed anyone in this political party. Talib, in fact, even President Barrow, he doesn't ridicule him. He criticizes him, but he doesn't ridicule him. So it's very unfair on the side of Talib for Youngs to come openly to say when he's selected he's going to leave the party. And I think the executive, I don't know if they have done anything. I think they should have hold Youngs accountable to those statements, because you are giving a conclusion before it is even concluded. Some people might say maybe he already know that Talib will be the party leader. That's why he said that. But
I mean,
he
even
also
then,
he
I don't
also
need
he
to
also
start.
he also need to understand that it is UDP. That's why he's been voted in. I mean, the truth of the matter is it's UDP. That's why people vote for Youngs. So just like Talib. So I think we need to work together in unity. I think we need to embrace each other and we need to accept differences. I think we need to be factual and truthful in our public statements. For me, if somebody comes to me and said Talib Bensouda should not be UDP party flag bearer because he did this and this and that, I'll listen to you. But if you are coming to me to say Talib Bensouda should not be a flag bearer because he is that, or because when he becomes a flag bearer, he's going to betray, now I'm not going to listen to you,
Yeah,
because this is the person who has the opportunity to join the presidency. This is the person who has the opportunity to form his political party. But he has not done all of those things. This is the only person in your political party that can bring in people that don't even belong to your political party. And you, by history, know that very well, that your own numbers don't make you win. That's the
yeah,
reality. And you have somebody who is bringing you numbers that are not even part of you. You should embrace that person. You should not attack him. I mean, I don't know what Talib will say, but if what Yankuba is saying, if it was Talib who says, if I was not selected, I will leave the party. If he was the one who said that, bro,
yeah,
you have been completely different. And that was what Yankwa said. He said, if somebody is selected, I will leave. If
yeah.
Talib Odis also said, if somebody is selected, I will leave, what will that show? So
I,
I think the party needs to show extreme fairness when it comes to these things. We need to be fair to people. They need to be fair to Talib, give him the grace that he deserves, support him. And like you said, I'm completely very disappointed with certain people in UDP. You've not even seen any evidence at this point to show that this guy has stolen any money. You're going on rampage on social media to say that to support or to pray for his downfall. That is completely very sad.
yeah,
And I
I
will
think
tell
we
you
can
something,
conclude it.
whether we know it or not, Talib Bensouda is the most hated individual in the Gambia right now by some people, but he's also the most loved individual in the Gambia right now. Because anybody in UDP, in NPP, most of the NPP 100%, their biggest threat right now is Talib Bensouda.
Mhm.
Some people in UDP were very sad for some reason that I don't know, going all out to making sure that he doesn't stand. Because the only belief they have is they think that if he doesn't stand this election, because he said he's not going to run for mayorship and he's going to act on that, so he will be politically redundant. So 2031, he's going to be completely out. That's the only reason.
Mhm.
Most of the people that are against Salib Bensouda, they are not interested in UDP right now. They're not thinking if Adam Barrow win or not. For them, it's okay for Adam Barrow to win and Talib not to contest, just for his political career to die along the line, so that 2031 they can have the opportunity. But how can you win in 2031 when you don't have Talib Bensouda, when you have President Barrow having all the local government areas? How can you win? That's just common sense.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
for me, having those people pray for his downfall, you have not seen anything done, you just want him out there for nothing, that is quite sad. And there should be one reason why UDP, my party members should know that Talib Bensouda is our answer. Ibrahim,
hmm
90% of prominent NPP supporters are all out now advocating for Usainu Dawo's candidacy.
yes, I've
NPP
seen that.
supporters don't hate anybody more than Usainu Dawo. They hate him, even if they can kill him. Well, not NPP supporters, but some extremists, they don't like him at all. But now they are coming out to say Usainu is the best candidate for UDP. Brother, that's just mere logic. They
Yeah.
are telling you that they want him because he's not going to win. So
Yeah.
we need to understand that there's a reason why Adam Barrow and the entire government machinery did everything possible to offset Talib in the last local government election in Carnival municipality. But what he did, he butchered them and take them to the corners. He won big
Yeah.
against them, against a sitting minister. Can you imagine? This guy won in one of the biggest municipalities in the country against a sitting minister with the backing of the president. The president was his campaign manager and the entire government machinery, including the police. He won them. He did this all by himself with your support. So if he has a record of winning the president, being the political campaign manager, then he is able to win the president being a candidate himself. And that's history. But now resource is telling you that he has the chance of winning. Give him the chance, support him, be with him. This is for
Um,
me, that's what I
yeah.
think.
No,
I'm not
I get your case that you're making in
uh,
preferential to Talib Bensouda. But one of the criticisms that I think a lot of people that I see out there that they make against Talib, which I always say, I think Talib, the only wrong thing, which should not be a wrong thing, but the only wrong thing that seems Talib Bensouda has done is to come from a very successful family. Not to say that people are jealous or envious of Talib Bensouda, but I think there is a mindset or a perception in the Gambia that if you come from a certain group or certain, uh, s- I mean, family, for example, there is this idea of an elitist capture of a political class in the Gambia,
thank
which
you, Ibrahim.
has happened in the Gambia. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
During the Jara era and some of the relationships that we have in government and
Mm,
situations that liken to that, right?
yeah.
But it
Mm,
seems to me, Taliban Suda, we're punishing him so
mm,
much, even if in situations where Talib has rightfully done
mhm,
really amazing stuff,
mhm,
you cannot convince a certain members of the society that look, there is no reason to even make the case that this guy and his surrounding are going to have an elitist capture of the state apparatus if they come to office, that they are
mhm,
only going to run this place and give contracts to their friends and benefit their families and to the expense of the entire people, that an individual like Taliban Suda is
mhm,
dangerous to society. But
mhm.
also we've had a lot of people who which fairly poor background that came into the office have done admissibly bad to our country, including
Thank
President
you.
Barrow, who
Thank
many
you.
people said he was a real estate. I don't know how successful he was, but he doesn't come across to me as a really successful, real estate guy. President Jammeh came as a what? A military officer. He was probably not paid $1,000 a month, right?
Mhm,
President Jara was still, in terms of intellect, was way above all of them. But
mhm.
even that, it's not like there's a lot of material success in those days. What could fairly argue this could be
Mhm.
controversial. But
Yeah.
my point is that some of those arguments, how legitimate do you think they are? Because
Yeah, it's there is no legitimacy behind it. There is absolute the argument holds absolutely zero water, and it's not something that I can remember. There was a time that in one famous WhatsApp page, the conversation comes in play, and I remember Omar Malmo asked them the question: is it Talib's fault to be rich? I mean, he said something like, is he what is bro? All of us came from a very humble background. I
yeah,
mean, personally, all of us came from a humble background.
yeah,
It's not our choice to be poor. It's not
yeah,
our choice to come from a humble background. That's why
yeah,
we are working very hard to make sure that our kids do not, come through something like that. And it does not mean that our parents are not hardworking. Our parents are one of the most hardworking people you've ever seen on the face of the world. But it's because that is how God destined it.
yeah,
And it's the same for Taliban too. That he doesn't come from a privileged family because that's what he prayed for whatsoever. He just see himself there. It's not by choice. It's by nature. You understand? So you cannot punish somebody for something that is beyond his control, and that's a good thing. Who doesn't want a better life? Who doesn't want to be privileged? Everybody wants to be privileged. But like you said, look at Gambia right now. The biggest thieves in Gambia. That in the history of that in history of our country, there have never been a thief that is more than Yaya Jammeh. He's the biggest thief ever. Bro, when he was coming, he came from a very, very disadvantaged family, just like
yeah.
all of us. Even
Became
if you see
richest
his
man.
pictures at the time, Adam Barrow just 5 years ago declared that he has 200 million in his account. This guy was a whatsoever selling people compounds for people. He was one of the poorest. But state come to him. They don't understand when what elitism is all about.
Yeah.
Elitism does not only mean that it's elite, it's an elite who should be, it's a bourgeoisie guy who should be on the lead whatsoever. No, you can have the elite, even they're even able to play the normal guy more than their fellow elite, because the normal guy, they'll just come and offer you money. Do you think anyone will come and offer Talib just 10 million and take 100 million and go away? No, because any deal that you come with, he already know about it. If you are trying to entice him with money, he already have the money. So that is why in the West, my brother, look at it. Most of the time, I'm not saying that it's rich people that become presidents or whatsoever, but they are fairly advantaged.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because nobody can come and play him. The only reason why we believe President Barrow is clueless is because we know most of the people around him, they do play him a lot. Yeah. They will come and offer him 100 million. At the end of the day, they understand what has been alleged is that at the end of the day, they go with 200 or 400 or 500 million. But do you think that can happen to Talib? Let's make the I was reading his track to the how to call it, the trucks that he bought, the strategy that he played there. He could have gone to the bank to take the loan, but he used an elite to get into a private partnership, PPP, with that elite, and he used him to go to the bank to borrow the money. And KMC, as liquidated as at that time, do not have any risks. If that person is bankrupt, the bank will go over that. The bank will go after that person. So he used strategy without KMC not having the money, but get somebody, a private individual, to partner with to go and get the money with following the procurement requirements, following all government laws to ensure that KMC have it.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, if it is somebody like someone who doesn't have money, like whatsoever, they will just go and take all the money from you, eat half of it, and give you 10%. You think you have all when the allies already capture you. So by history, let's just talk of history. By history, we can certainly say that it is easy to capture the non-elite than the elite. That's what history told us. We cannot dispute that. And KMC right now, we can see very clearly, nobody will be able to say that this contract is given to a particular elite because they are not able to do their job or whatsoever. No. The contracts are awarded through a particular procedure in ways that are in tandem with our laws and our regulations. So, Tom, that argument is a very, very flimsy and base argument that there's no water. Sometimes it's hurting me and this is, like you said, I don't know how you even know, but this is their line.
Yeah.
Even if they call you personally, they will tell you, bro, boy, and then tol mu fuaro le di yalla tol ba mali fa mal kere nyami ni Talib Bensouda ni mo ko di le ni na rebe na patio tale ben na banko hijack la mala fuaro ya de mi ya jamesi ya jimel ko so Gambia be mala fuaro ya de mi ya Adam Barosi, but they're now rich people. So those kind of statements, people don't need that. What we need is somebody who will come, fight corruption, change the Gambia, make it an environment that is habitable, that make it an environment that people will embrace, make it an environment that everybody will want to live in. That's what we want. Talk about that. So they don't have any point.
I think also the other issue is, again, the comparative analysis between Yankuba Dabo, Brikama Area Council chairman of Brikama Area Council, which, by the way, I happen to be from. So I have absolutely no compulsion to really talk about Brikama or even Yankuba. I'm from Brikama. I was born in Brikama, and that's my home. I have a very sentimental attachment to Brikama, right? And so I see this constant comparative analysis between Brikama Area Council and what Yankuba is doing there, which, by the way, is great. I think curbing corruption and job wreck. Let's stop the stealing. Whatever the term that Yankuba used, I think is pretty catchy, and it's good because we need to stop the leakage. We need to stop the pillage. We need to stop people from stealing the money, and then we can do the work. But it almost seems like there is always this comparative analysis between BAC, Brikama Area Council, and also KMC, because Talib, for one reason or the other, there is still a case to be made that he is unable to curb corruption in KMC, even though he is not directly involved in some of those things, but he is still the head of the institution. It's as if like we're blaming President Barrow for a police officer on the road who picks a bribe from a driver who wants to get away from a police officer, right? So I think some of those allegations sometimes makes it hard to the candidacy of Talib Ahmed Bensouda, And but I think also that is we must also come to the realization that leadership also comes with that sometimes. If it is to a level where we're not doing anything about it, about the issues of corruption or corruption allegations, then I would definitely say, okay, cool. Like I don't really care about Talib Bensouda if he's unable to like really institute plans to make sure we curb corruption. And same with Yankuba too. I think every serious person should deal with those things. But what would you say to some of those people who are making those allegations of his inability or failure to deal with certain individuals in his, I mean, KMC who are involved in certain corruption allegations? Because also, let me note at this juncture that, the government for a very long time since Talib coming into office, they've been instituting ways and means to make sure that they get Talib Ahmed Bensouda,
Mm,
just like they're doing, they did in Senegal with Sanko and Jamai 5. So
mhm,
it's not any different when they instituted all of these commissions. One could even make a case that these commissions are instituted primarily for
mhm,
Talib Ahmed Bensouda, not to take away any of the great work that they've been doing,
mhm,
right? So it's hard for anybody to just sit and say, "Oh, we're going to have a candidate who is corruption free.
mhm,
We're going to have a candidate who is blemish free." I don't think I expect Talib Bensouda or any of our candidates to be that.
mm. Yeah, I think Tom, I think you're very right. I mean, let's speak to the facts now. Um, there is no empirical fact that comes out that there is a corruption practice in KMC that Talib did not act on. The first time it becomes a public knowledge that the then deputy mayor was involved in corruption and another person, he came out, he sacked the person, he removed the deputy mayor. He could not remove him from councillorship because I believe he was elected, but he did everything to remove all those that are involved. That's what leaders do. If you want to fight corruption, you punish people. And how many people in KMC have been sacked because of corruption since Taliban should have come into office? A lot of people. So this is a guy whose first decision in KMC is not fighting what you can call corruption, but you can call it conflict. When he came into KMC, the first thing that he stopped is his own mother's contract. That tells you this guy is very serious. You are elected as a mayor. You just come to the office. The first thing you could do is to revoke your mother's retainership. And a lot of people will not do that, Abraham.
Conflict
You
of
know,
interest.
you don't revoke his retainership because he's not competent. You don't revoke his retainership because he has credibility issues. You just revoke it because you think he's your mother. So because there's conflict of interest and you don't want him to work there. That is something that everybody wants to hear. For me, those people saying he's corrupt, I want them to show evidence where there is corruption in KMC and he does not act on it. For me, I'm saying this because Talib, I don't owe him anything, right? Any day there is a corruption evidence that comes out against Talib Bensouda and there is no proof that he have done anything, that would be the day I will excuse myself
Yeah,
from aligning with him.
yeah,
But
and
there is none, right? And the comparison with Youngs it's a bit funny. Youngs is just starting. He's doing incredibly great things. We're happy that he's cutting some of the things and he's making sure that there is no leakage. That is good. We love that about him. That's why we voted for him.
Mhm.
Right? And that is good, right? But both Youngs and Talib, they are doing great things. So members of the UDP, before they compare Talib and Youngs, who is corrupt or who is not corrupt, these are two people that are doing great things. Celebrate all of them together. Be happy that they are from your party and they are doing great things. That's what Bao Senu does. That's what senior executive members do in the party. They are happy that these people in the party are doing great things. I mean, for Rohi, I speak to another thing because the things I see, my head is spinning me. I cannot defend that. But for Youngs, he is not being investigated for now. Let's also understand that. And when you say corruption, most of these corruption allegations they're not even talking about financial money. They're talking about procedure.
Mhm.
Did you follow the procedure? If you make payments, there are receipts over it, invoices. That's what it is. For example, the complaint that you
The audit
know
report.
audit report raised about Talib it's just about receipts, and he sold everything. So that is where leadership comes into play. He could argue or he could defend himself, or it's been paid. No, but audit flags that this is wrong and this is wrong, this is wrong. He went back to the drawing board to make sure, because he believed that the money was rightfully spent. He saw out all the evidence to show that the money was spent. If he did not show anything that the money was spent, We can bank on him because we believe that he has a hand in it. But he saws it.
Yeah.
Now your job should be to question the credibility of what he saw. But nobody is doing that. So which means he's corrupt free. So it's like you said, it's very difficult for somebody, to be working in somewhere and they'll be perfect. Even for us, our this conversation, if we should go back or listen to it certain
Yeah.
way, there will be certain things I could have said, I should have said it in certain way.
Yeah.
There will be certain things you will have. So somebody who's been in office for nearly 10 years, you cannot investigate that person and you will not find any fault.
Yeah.
If you do that, then that person, it means that he is not human.
Yeah.
You will find fault. But the good thing is, how does that person react to that?
Mhm.
And I think we should be very objective in the manner in which we assess him. How is he reacting about some of these allegations? We have seen that he will request something for three people, and his CEO will tell him, take two people, and he will directly say, well, CEO, you said two, let's go with two.
Yeah.
Those are good signs. We've seen that there are cars that are bought for him. He returned the cars. He makes sure a smaller car bought for him. We've seen that there are allowances given to him. He returned those allowances, make sure he went for a lower allowance. We've not been having leaders in the Gambia who have been doing that. Who? Who in our governance? We have never had a president before who reduced his allowance. We've never had a vice president before who reduced his allowance. We've never had a minister before who reduced his allowance. Never in the history of our country. We've only have a mayor who does that, and who is Talib Bensouda.
Yeah.
We've never had a president or a vice president or a minister before who was bought a car and he returned a car and said, buy a cheaper one for me. But we had a mayor who do that, Talib Bensouda. So he is not perfect, but
Yeah.
he is on point in changing the Gambia, and he is a viable alternative. This is the question. Because sometimes you don't need to look for a perfect person because you can't have it. But if
Mhm.
you have two options, they might not all be the best option. But which one is more viable? It is him. So for me, that's how I see things, and I think most of the people, some critics are genuine. Honestly, some of the critics against him, they are genuine. But most of the critics, they are just NPP who are fearful because they believe that he is the one who can unseat President Barrow. Or others, some in UDP, they feel like if he comes, he'll be a straightforward person. They will not be able to get the chunk of the national cake, and they are angry. They don't want him to be president because they think when he becomes president, he's going to betray the party or he's going to do something. So for them, it's for UDP to lose than Talib to be a president. They prefer UDP to lose than Talib being president. Those are the only people that are out there criticizing him
Yeah.
without genuine reason. I want to agree that there are some critics that are genuine. I
Yeah.
100% agree with that. But there are many of those critics, bro. They just
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I hope it's not a lose-lose situation for
Yeah.
UDP and the Gambia, because honestly, this is not just about UDP, and this is about the Gambia. It's about our life and our future and the future of many, many generations after us. But really, Ibrahima, is a little over an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
we've really delved into a lot of things. And I think you have very really wonderful insights on a variety of issues. And again, you're never shy to really assert some of the views or opinions that you have, which in a society where a lot of people, like to play the neutral role and just be in the middle and do not even go to the extent of, aligning ourselves publicly so much that we even get membership for political parties, which is pretty impressive. And I always say that is whenever I'm convinced of any political party that aligns with my interests and views and things that I stand on, I said I'm never going to hold back. I am going to go ahead and align myself publicly with that party. And I think conversations like this help in that process. And I hope that United Democratic Party would continue to invite people in to have conversations with them. There are people for either, for various reasons that would never come, regardless of how the party tries. But there are others on the fence who are undecided, and the survey has shown us that either you like
Yes.
the survey or you don't. There's a large chunk of society that is now still sold on the idea of the United Democratic Party, right? And instead of spending so much time to attack each other and demean and just go after each other's throat, they can spend all of that energy and time, like you said perfectly, to strategize to ensure we form a formidable challenge to the government of President Adam Barrow. Because again, we must never underestimate the power of incumbency and the value and the assets or the resources that they have, as the incumbent government. So I really appreciate the conversation I have with you, and I would just want to ask of what's your call for hope before we complete this conversation, which could be anything. really. And then we can just have our final words to close this dialogue today.
Yeah, I think Tom, I think sometimes conversations become quite interesting because you have somebody in the other side who does not just only ask the right questions but challenge the right things. And I think that's what I have on the other side, and I believe that's why I want to understand the conversation is a fruitful one. Thank you for that. Yeah, and then for me, I think there is hope. I remain hopeful for the Gambia because I don't see this as an issue for UDP. This is not a UDP matter. This is a Gambian issue now. And I think as far as we are a political party or we are individuals who pride ourselves of loving our country, then we should not do anything that will supersede the interest of our country. And it is an open secret that our country is run by an incompetent individual, is run by somebody who has no business running a country, like you said, is run by somebody who is unsure of what he does, surrounded by um, people that are questionable in all fronts. So I think it should be our general call to change that status quo. And in order to change that status quo, like you said, like the survey said, like the majority of people on the ground are saying, we need to come together in unity. And the way we can come together in unity is to forget the party colors for now, forget everything, just to uproot that individual because we believe he is ruining our country. And history, evidence, these are the two things that people will look at when we are making decisions. Every organization look at history, evidence. Everyone, before you make a decision, you look at history, you look at evidence. These two variables, both history and evidence, is telling us that as a united democratic party, it's going to be very difficult to win alone under a certain leadership. Both history and evidence is telling us that the only way we can win the incumbent is through coming a coalition. The same two variables is telling us that our chances of having winning as a coalition is this particular person. And luckily, the person they are pointing fingers at is a bona fide member of us. We make him who he is. So this should be an opportunity for us to take pride of him, for us to support him, give him the latitude, the platform, give him all the support he needs to lead us to 2026 so that we can remove Barrow, we can restore hope in Gambia, we can change our education system, change our healthcare system, fight corruption, unify Gambians, and work on development projects that is going to bring opportunities for generations yet unborn. And we have that opportunity. We can only do it, like I said, by adhering to results, adhering to history, and adhering to evidence that has been presented to us. And I thank you very much, Tom, for for this interview. And just like you admire my ability to have a side, I also admire your ability to call out things who they are, because most of the interviewers will ask you general questions without not taking side. Clearly, you do not only provoke the question, but you critically, provoke the situation and have strong opinions about it. And I think that is very, very essential. And I hope my man to Baba Tuba possibly we also have a side because he said I'm Team Talib. I don't want to say he's Team Youngs, but everything he writes is about Youngs.
No,
And
he's Team Youngs. He's
I saw
absolutely Team
I
Youngs.
saw him in Young's office. I want to take him to Talib's office, but I'm not sure he is willing to go to Talib's office. And I think Talib need him more than Young's, in fact, because we are president in waiting and we respect data, and that's where his skills is. Dubai is one of the most intelligent people in terms of dealing with numbers. So as a government and president in waiting, I think he's going to be more beneficial to us. He can help Youngs along the line, advise him, but I think we need him more because we are very close to becoming the president as the result source. So maybe
Ibrahim,
he's
you sound like
he's
a politician already.
just about being on the fence. I know he will see this video and come after me. But my huge respect for him for all the things he's been doing, and you and everybody else. But hopefully we all come together in one platform and work together to change the country. And I'm so pleased so grateful to be here with you, bro.
No, thank you so much, Ebrima. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate this conversation. Like I always say here on the Dialectic Space podcast, we will have conversations. We will also have uncomfortable conversations. We will agree, but we will also disagree fundamentally on a variety of issues. But we'll also always do it respectfully. We'll always do it honorably. We'll always try to do it objectively because I think that is important. We're young people, we're learning, we are going to make mistakes. The opinions that we share here, especially from my end, there is no sentimental attachment or
Yeah.
any sort of ulterior motive. What we see is Gambia. Gambia is what unites all of us. Gambia is the reason we are where we are. Gambia has given us so much. And this is our way through our ideas and thinking that we're thinking about sharing these things for us to better ourselves and our society. So we'll continue to dialogue. Ibrahima is going to be a frequent guest on this show, and I look forward to having more of these conversations with you and more of your interactions online and continue writing, really, and let's continue to have the dialogue. But I really appreciate talking to you today.
Nice one. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Please continue. This is going to be one of the biggest platforms before we come next year, and hopefully we have Talib Bensouda in this too. I'm gonna make sure working around that to have him in this show hopefully very soon.
Please, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, brother. Cheers, man. Yeah,
Bye.
man.
Cheers. Bye.